Life is filled with realities far from our plans and dreams. I, David, learned this in a very painful way. My 25-year marriage to Sarah seemed perfect to me, but one summer day, everything changed. That day, when she looked into my eyes, I realized that those looks were no longer just for me. Now I will tell you how a man's heart was broken and slowly healed. But first, I have a question for you. Can a lightning strike destroy a love that has lasted for years? Before diving into my story, don't forget to subscribe and like this video to not miss the most striking stories about cheating and marriage. Now I invite you to this emotional journey. If you're ready, let's start our video. My wife Sarah and I lived in a small town outside of Chicago, and our daughter Emily lived in Denver with her own family and peace. My job provided me with a comfortable life, and everything seemed to be going well, until the neighbor's summer party. The party was a summer celebration organized by our neighbor every year. As in previous years, we set off to go there with Sarah. But that day, the sparkle in Sarah's eyes was different. At the party, she was friendly and cheerful with everyone, but somehow this time, her friendliness blew a cold wind inside me. I would soon realize that her joy was not because of me. At the party, I noticed a change in Sarah's behavior. There was a sparkle in her eyes, a foreign excitement. And I could only watch. After years passed together like a long dance, watching another man bewitch her filled me with bitter sadness. The world turned dark when I first saw her with that stranger. Sarah's eyes were lost, and as after that night, the coldness of our bed seeped into my heart. Later, when I learned that Sarah had left the love in our life for that stranger, my world came crashing down on me. When Sarah told me she was pregnant after spending a night with that stranger, my world was shattered. That stranger was a literature teacher at our school and had entered Sarah's life only a few months ago. The feeling that the child Sarah was carrying was not mine drove me to pick up my phone and call my lawyer, thus starting the divorce process. The divorce process was like collecting broken glass pieces. While I was suffering, I also had to accept this pain. Could there have been a life left to live with a wife who had become pregnant by another man? Our lawyers formalized our separation on paper, and we parted ways. Then Sarah gave birth to the child. When I heard that Sarah had given birth, I went to see her. Could I be the dumbest man alive? But I was curious, because that child could have been mine. Going to see Sarah knowing that the child was not mine was tearing me apart, but my curiosity convinced me to see Sarah and her newborn. He had come into the world with an innocent face carrying his mother's eyes. As soon as I saw the child who should have been mine but was not, I immediately left and decided to focus on my own life. What else could I have done? How could I have stood seeing a baby whose father should have been me but was not due to a mistake made by his mother? Life went on, and I met Kathy. Kathy was a former police officer who spoke boldly about life. Our first meeting took place in a Greek restaurant, and that night I felt my old wounds begin to heal. What was different about Kathy was the fidelity in her eyes and her reassuring demeanor. Together, we put past pains aside and made a new start. Meanwhile, Sarah felt lonely for the rest of her life while raising that child. Her ex-husband, the father of her child, had left her and her son. I would see Sarah from time to time in the market or park, and we would greet each other. But both of us knew that what was in the past should stay in the past. We were moving on. In each encounter, we quietly asked ourselves whether the choices we made were right. Yes, sometimes we are swept away in the flow of life. But remember, after every waterfall, a calm river awaits us. This is my story, and as you write your own story, don't forget that everything you've lived through has brought you to today. I would like you to comment on these events and my story. Was it a mistake for me to visit Sarah and her child? Am I a weak man? Please be considerate in sharing your thoughts.